What is it?
It's time to go back.
Welcome.
Hey there, welcome back, and Happy New Year. It's Generation S, a podcast about growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s. And let me put it to you this way. If you enjoyed our last episode on the PlayStation franchise and you enjoyed the sound effect you heard to boot this podcast up, this podcast is, in fact, for you. I'm Dan Kemp, and today joined by not one, but two very special guests, because we're doing it bigger, guys. We're talking all about PS2, and so I couldn't just have one guest. I had to go with two. Returning to the show, frequent guest, of course, and Generation S First Ballot Hall of Famer, Lou Carnivale.
Thanks for having me today.
You sound so excited when you say it like that, too. Yeah.
Yes.
So excited.
Thank you.
And coming back to the show for the first time in a while, but no stranger to video game discussions here on the podcast, Mr. Derek Taylor. Derek, welcome back, buddy.
Thanks, man. Glad to be back.
And I know you were pretty bummed because we didn't include you on the PlayStation episode.
I'm pretty sure I sent you a lot of hate messages, like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah, basically, you're like, dude, I love you, but what the fuck? Like, and I said, listen, man, okay, it was a creative decision on my part. I'm full ownership of that. But I knew I wanted to have you on for PS2, especially because this, to me, guys, is the console that took us from our teenage years into our early adulthood, right? I mean, this was, I don't know, it is the greatest selling video game console in the entire world. Like, to this day, it is still like, and I think PlayStation has, like, of the top 5 systems, it's like got 3 of them or 4 of them. So, I mean, it should be no surprise, but PlayStation 2 is the top selling console in the entire world. So what better way to talk about it than with two people that both had a PS2 and played the holy hell out of it. And so what we'll do is we're going to kind of go through and we'll talk about our own personal kind of memories with it, how we got a hold of one, the types of games we played, all that stuff. We'll then go through, and we got a lot of fantastic feedback on the Generation S Facebook page on games that our listeners played growing up. So we'll kind of go through those, and then we're going to wrap up with last time we did a top 10 selling PlayStation game list and go through those. This time, top 20, because it's twice as big. It's PS2, so we're multiplying everything by 2 here, including guests and the list that we're going to be looking at here. So
the other thing is, on our YouTube page, we posted a poll of what video game system the listeners wanted us to do next, and the PS2 was the choice. It beat out the original Xbox and the lonely Dreamcast.
I can't say I'm surprised, though. Yeah.
I'm not surprised, but the Dreamcast was such a gem.
I did not have a Dream. Both of you guys had a Dreamcast, right? I never had a Dreamcast.
Yeah. I didn't have one until I was an adult.
Oh, like vintage, like you got it at an antique store kind of deal?
Yes, but I had a friend that had one, and I was in love with the thing. That thing was leaps and bounds beyond its time. But we're not talking about that today.
You're right. You're absolutely right. We're doing
PS2.
PS2. So just to avoid confusion, I'm gonna set an order here by which we go through discussions. So because I'm looking at Lou first, we're gonna go Lou and then Derek, and we'll just kind of make sure that we'll go through it, just because we know how crazy these things can get when there's 3 people on, because you've both been on multi-man episodes before. So Lou, let's start with you, man. So how did you first get a hold of a PS2? Let's start there.
It was damn near impossible where I lived to get a PS2. On the island, it was very, very hard to get it. I do remember where I got it. Ironically, I remember I was in a mall and a KB Toys, rest in peace.
Nice.
Had them, but it was bundled, not like a Sony bundle where you get the game, you get the system and a game, or a system and a controller. It was a tough shit. We know it's hard to get. KB's making you buy the system and 3 games. I had to get 3 games. So it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I had enough money for the system, but you had to buy the games, and there was no discount with the games. It's like you had to buy them. So I got
full price. Because what were they? And they were $50 back then, right? I'm pretty sure. Or
$50 back then. Yep.
Yeah.
50. I got a game called Smuggler's Run. I don't know if you guys have played that.
I haven't heard of it. Is it a pirate game?
No, it's basically like you're in dune buggies
Okay.
And it's kind of like an off-road racing game. It was all right.
All
Got it
right.
at a garage sale for $2 for some nostalgia.
Nice.
NBA, I want to say NBA 02 or 01, whatever the original year that came out, NBA Live, which doesn't exist anymore, and then
Yep.
NASCAR also. Not very good games, but I probably didn't have much of a choice, or I just went with sports games, but that's when I got it.
So
I was
and so
forced
did
to
you
get
get
three
it?
games?
I was just say, was it around launch time then, like 99, 2000 when you had gotten it?
No, it was a few months in. It was I would say at least
But it was that
6
year
months
though.
in.
Like for example, and I'll talk about this, but I didn't get a PS2 until like 2004. So
What year did it come out?
like 99 or 2000.
Did it really?
Yeah.
No.
It did.
Really?
Yeah.
2000?
I didn't get a PlayStation 1 until 99. So like I was a late bloomer. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we always got late cycle consoles.
Yeah, it was 2000.
So if it came out in 2000, I would say probably halfway through.
Okay. So yeah, so
Halfway,
fairly
maybe
fresh.
6 months or so.
Yeah, which is why it was obviously hard to get a hold of, because remember, it was not just a system that played, and backwards compatible. That was a huge thing because it was the first backwards compatible
Simple
system.
backwards compatible.
Yes.
You pop the
Yes.
disc in and it worked. And it was a DVD player, which like, again, novel concept, but like that was like, it was cheaper than a lot of DVD players. So that's how kids would get their parents to buy one, was like, hey, this thing plays DVDs so we can put it in the living room and I can also play new cool games on it. You know what I mean?
And
Yeah,
you had the
absolutely.
analog controllers from the PlayStation 1 They worked
because it was the
PS2 as
same
well.
outlet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that they did it right. And I
Truly
think,
backward compatible.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was the first one, right? That was truly backwards compatible.
That's what it felt like, yeah.
I think so, because I mean everything before that was console cartridge based, and so you couldn't, I mean, unless you had like a Super Game Boy add-on for the Super
Right.
Nintendo or the N64, you weren't getting backwards compatibility. So, and it wasn't even that expensive either. It was like $200, right, or was it $300? I remember it was not super expensive.
I want
But
to say it was two. Yeah.
It was
200.
like you said. It was justified though, because as a kid, you weren't telling your parents, "Well, I'm getting a new system and all these games I gotta sell or give to somebody or this, that, and the other thing, and the controllers and this and that." It was no, I'm keeping all my games, but this cousin so and so want this system. They can have it for like $50.
Right.
You could justify getting rid of your PS1 and getting a couple bucks, or I mean, was
And
it
keeping all the
Funko Land
games.
still?
Funko Land, there was Babbage's. That was another store
Yeah,
that was
give
really
you 25
popular.
bucks for it probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember, because we kept our PS1 even after getting a PS2 just to have it in a different room of the house.
So did I.
Yeah, see, so no, but Derek, what about you, man? Did you get yours at launch as well, or around launch time, or?
I don't think so, because I have a vivid memory of buying the PS2 and then buying Twisted Metal Black
Okay,
Yes.
with it. So I want to say, and
was that
looking
02 or
at
03
the-
then, or?
I could tell you when Twisted Metal
a year
Black
later.
came out.
Okay,
It was July of 01 because it came out right around my birthday, and I got it. I saved my birthday money to get it.
Yeah, and that could have also been the same thing too, because I think that's when I did buy the PlayStation. It was for my birthday, because my birthday's July 7th. So
oh, nice. Well, there you go. See, so you both got it around. See, and me. Oh, so anyway, so you got Twisted. And did you get any of their games with it, or was that like your game that you had to play?
I think that's the game that I bought with it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember. I don't remember buying anything else with it at the time.
Okay.
So,
I mean, a fantastic choice. Obviously, it's a great game.
yeah, Twisted Metal Black's great.
Yeah, some would even say one of the best Twisted Metal games of all time. And if you want to hear our opinion of it, you should check out the episode that Lou and I did back several months ago, where we talked all about Twisted Metal. So,
Yes.
But I agree. And actually, funnily enough, I ended up getting Twisted Metal Black for my birthday several years later. So I bought the PS2. It was the first game console I ever bought with my own money. Like, I had saved up money, and my mom took me to, because I couldn't drive yet, my mom took me to, I think it was still called EB Games, if not even Electronics Boutique in the mall.
Wow.
In Aviation Mall, and I picked up a PlayStation 2, and I bought 2 games with it because I had money for 2 games. I bought Tekken Tag Tournament, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I love the Tekken fighting series, right? In fact, I do eventually want to do a fighting games episode on this podcast, and Tekken will get its due. And then I also bought WWF SmackDown Just Bring It. So it was the first SmackDown game on the PlayStation 2. By then, I'm pretty sure the next one had already come out or was about to come out, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. But, I mean, it was like, I think I got this one for like $20 maybe. But I remember, because again, I spent my own money on it. I was very excited. I brought it home, and I remember very quickly into the life cycle of owning it, it would not read any discs. Like so this was unique too. Do you remember some of the PlayStation discs had blue backs? Do you remember that or no? So Tekken Tag was one of them. It would not read blue back discs anymore. It would give an error or it would just spin. Yeah, it didn't do it. And then eventually it stopped loading. What do you call it? The SmackDown game. So I remember my mom brought it back to GameStop, and the guy was trying to argue. He's like, "Well, that's not our problem. You know, you bought it, and you know, whatever. And we test them here." And so anyway, long story short, like she ripped him a new one. And we ended up, I forget how much extra we had to spend to like get another, like he gave us like a deep discount on buying another PlayStation 2. It was still used. And that one worked, but I just remember that I was so pissed because like it wouldn't play. And I didn't even ask you guys this. Did you guys have memory cards when you first bought the system? Lou?
I don't think I did. I think at that point, because I had to get the 3 extra games, I'm like, just get me something, because it was a sports game for the most part, unless I was going to do a season mode or something like that. Right. But I just want to touch on what you said about the blue disc games. Yeah. I have my cousin's PS2 because I moved over the summer and I found it, and the PlayStation 2 games work, but the PS1 games don't work. It's very weird.
Huh? Something with the laser,
no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to keep my PS1 out. So I have a PS2. That's it. But yeah, I experienced the PS2 that crashed towards the, but mine was way later in its life cycle.
Right. Yeah. This one was definitely, I mean, it might have been, it was pre-owned. So maybe it was like whatever. But granted, and again, it was like 2 or 3 years into the life cycle of the thing. So it could have been a launch console for all I know. But so Lee, you probably didn't have a memory card. What about you, Derek? Do you have a memory card?
So maybe I'm misremembering this, but did the PlayStation 1 memory cards not work on PlayStation 2?
They did.
Only PS1 games.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'd say
that was another thing, though. that was another thing that was good about it, though. So if you had your PS1 games, you didn't have to port over the save. You didn't have to move it from memory card PS1 to memory card PS2. It's just controller in, memory card in, disc in, done. None of this modern day BS you got to do. Jump through hoops.
I miss memory cards, man.
Dude, I mean, just from the ability to because I remember like even in like college, like we bought like my first Xbox. I mean, we're not talking about Xbox today, but my first Xbox 360 had a memory card. Remember, Lou? And like you were the first one of my friends to get the hard drive for it, and I was like, "Oh, you lucky!" But then I was like, "But then you can't like bring." I mean, I guess you could bring your hard drive to a friend's house, but like, but the idea because we used to play the wrestling games together, and we would transfer our wrestlers to each of the memory cards to like play to like keep up our roster and stuff. I remember that, but I didn't. So I didn't have a memory card because again, that was one of those like they were like $40 back in the day, and. So I think the first several games I owned, including wrestling, Tekken, which again, really not much that you need to save there, and then Metal Gear Solid 2. I remember that because we bought that pretty soon after as well. Like we had to beat it in one night because otherwise we'd lose all our save product because we didn't have a memory card.
That sounds like the worst thing ever.
It was. I mean, as a kid, I loved it. It was. I guess it drove me nuts, but like it was fun to be able to just play through the entire game. So I remember like my brother and I like marathoned Metal Gear Solid 2, and I fell asleep halfway through, and then he beat it while I was sleeping. But he always beat all the games for me. But I remember, then I finally got the memory card, and it was fine. But I. Memory card. I'm trying to think what other. So what are some other like games you remember owning like back in the day, Lou? What about you? I mean, eventually you had a ton of them, like we all did. But like as far as like early on,
Twisted Metal Black, like Derek said, was one of the games that stuck out to me. The SmackDown games, arguably what many people say the best wrestling game after No Mercy on N64 was SmackDown. Which one? Oh my God! Here Comes the Pain. Because there's so many of them, I can't remember. Here Comes the Pain was another one. GTA 3, I think that everybody played at some point. Even if you didn't own it, you played a demo of it, or you played it at a friend's house. You played it somewhere, some way. I remember playing that as well. There was a really good Power Rangers game on it too, called Super Legends. Actually, I believe it has the blue back.
Okay.
Trying to think anything else jumps out to me. You talked about Tekken. As a Street Fighter fan, there wasn't any good Street Fighter games on PS2. I'm trying,
not that generation, yeah.
And I'm trying to think of games that are just like on PS2. Like Marvel vs. Capcom was out in that generation, so to speak, but you could have played on any system. Actually, one game I did get, and I'll throw it over to Derek after this, is I don't like the current Madden games. It's way too complicated. I like playing the baseball games. I like playing the NHL games. Madden is just way too complicated. I had on my original Xbox NFL 2K4, which is among the highest rated football games of all time, and it's before it went exclusive with EA. And I'm like, oh, I'll just go to my local, mom and pop video game store. It should be like $5, right? No, it's a used sports game for like $20. Like, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
But that's how popular it is. And it's a very, very fun game. So
you had that on your Xbox or PS2?
I had it originally on the Xbox.
I gotcha. Okay.
But I have it now on PS2. So I wanted to give a few games that were exclusives to PlayStation. And then it's kind of like just in that time period that might be, on multiple systems.
Okay. All right. So sports games, fighting games, wrestling, that was kind of your jam.
For me, I didn't have a good fighting game on PS2.
Oh,
that
that's
was like
right,
one of the generations I skipped over.
So you didn't do any like the 3D Mortal Kombat games or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
It was all about, it was wrestling, Twisted Metal, and GTA.
Okay. Yeah. And then sports.
Which is ironically probably what I still play now.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, man, old habits die hard. Now, okay, so Derek, I know your taste is similar to mine as far as some of the other genres, but what are some games that you remember like owning and like playing the hell out of?
Oh, man. So I'm a huge rhythm gaming nerd.
Really? I actually didn't know this about you.
Oh, dude, how did you not?
I don't know. We never played like DDR or anything together.
So yeah, DDR, Dance Dance Revolution, Max 2, Extreme, Extreme 2, all on PS2.
Nice.
I went through several hundreds of dollars with different dance mats, even to the point where I ended up buying a metal mat off the internet somewhere for a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah, I was like into Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah. Now, did they have was Guitar Hero out on PS2 or was that
Guitar Hero was born on PS2?
Okay, I thought
it might have been arcade first, but it definitely came out on PS2.
Okay, but as far as the consoles, that was the generation. Now, because Rock Band didn't come out to the next generation, right?
I think Rock Band came out. It was like one of those weird games that it came out of the next generation, but they also had a port for the PS2.
I gotcha.
But it came out later, so
right.
So I think most people that played Rock Band was probably on PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
Next or that generation.
Mm-hmm.
Other games that stuck out to me, of course, Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Oh yeah.
Probably
one of the best games of all time.
One of my favorite games of all time. Yep.
Did you, by the way, side note, did you see like the trailer for the HD remake they got going for it?
Dude, I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited for it. I was excited for the big bundle collection, but I heard it had some pretty bad.
The frame rate's low. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna get it on the Switch just to have it portable and be able to play Metal Gear Solid 1 again because I haven't played that game since my PS3 because it's not backward. It's a PS1 game you can't play on modern consoles.
Yeah. Talking about a game that I wish I could lose all memory of playing and play it again.
Oh, love Metal Gear Solid. Yes.
Now I'm going to go down a weird road. Did you guys play Katamari Damacy?
No, but I actually have it on my Switch now. I bought it. It's in my backlog. I haven't touched. It's like you're like a giant ball that rolls around and picks up stuff, right?
You're a small person that pushes around a ball.
Oh, okay.
And then that ball picks things up and gets bigger and bigger until you are literally picking up the entire world.
Okay.
All to make new stars for the sky for the King of Cosmos. Well, it's a very weird game. The soundtrack's amazing. It's very fun and goofy.
Okay.
So there's that, and then the big shout out would probably be Kingdom Hearts, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, and we'll talk about that because again, I know I talked about like the top selling games and listener feedback, and that game comes up multiple times. So yeah, we'll
Can I redeem myself because I gave the wrong information for something? I said
sure,
NFL 2K4. I was wrong. It came out in 04, but it was actually 2K5 with Terrell Owens on the cover. Just so I don't get, you don't know what damn football game you're talking about. No, it came out in 04. It was 2K5 with Terrell Owens on the cover.
All right, give you a
and also Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2.
Oh shit! I forgot about the Star Wars. Yes,
but again, that was multiple systems, but just of that era.
You had
great games.
Amazing.
And then the last game, quick shout out to Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, and San Andreas because those games are phenomenal as well. But the game I probably played the most was, and I'm sure we'll get to this with the weird accessories for PlayStation 2, was SOCOM 2.
Really?
Yes, online with friends.
Oh, that's right. Well, and we are going to talk about that. So that's a perfect segue, Derek. Thank you. So let's talk about that. So PlayStation 2, I mean, I guess it wasn't the first technically, but it was the first I was aware of that had online capabilities. Because the first online console, I believe, that credit goes to Sega Dreamcast, right?
I think so.
So, yeah, I mean, there was other systems that tried it, like way back in the day. I believe it was the NES Super Nintendo Catapult.
Oh,
was
really?
Something they tried to do, but in terms of like real online gaming, I would be safe to say it was the Dreamcast. I think you guys are right.
Yeah, and it was like, you plugged it into the modem, obviously, and it was a big thing, and it just not a lot of people used it. But yeah, PS2, you had to buy. Now, I never owned one, so I never. No, I take it back. Didn't I buy one, Lou, when we were in college? Like we tried playing some PS2 games online, like SmackDown, or did you own it? Maybe.
No, I didn't. I remember a buddy coming over because you could, like you guys said, you could bring the memory card over. He got SOCOM. I think that was the boxed game. Was
okay.
I don't know if it was SOCOM came with the capability or the add-on capability came with SOCOM. Either way, chicken or the egg. But I remember a buddy coming over and we tried to do it, and it was just not very good. At least for us, it wasn't very good because the internet speed wasn't very good. But
so how did it work for you, Derek? Was it a good experience or just cool because you could play online and that just was amazing?
If I recall, I don't think I got to play much at my actual house because we had really crappy internet.
Oh yeah.
Because I think we were still on dial-up at that point.
I know we were until like 04, so yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yep.
But when I did play, like I would bring my PlayStation to my buddy's house. No, actually, I don't think so. I would play from home. Man, it's been so long.
Yeah.
Anyway, SOCOM 2 is probably one of the best online experiences I've had, and I've been chasing that high forever. I wish they would just remake the game as is and leave everything alone, up the graphics. But like you had to, they had a because it had headset support too, so you could talk to your friends over it, but you had to hold a button to do it. So you had to you had to fight for the mic. You'd have to hold circle to just hold on to the mic to talk to your teammates or talk to your friends. And if you're good teammates, you weren't trying to talk over each other, but you'd always get in those lobbies where some guy is trying to hog the mic and play their really shitty music constantly.
I think,
but man,
I was just gonna say, I think we all had that. We all had that one game that our first online experience that stuck with us, because I have the same feeling, but for a totally different game on PC. That was Counter-Strike on PC.
Okay, yep.
That was the first online game I'd ever played. That and Quake 3 Arena, but I was not as good at Quake 3 Arena. And kind of like you said, I would try to buy games for years to try to scratch that Counter-Strike itch, right? To be like, oh, that's what I want to do. And I never could. Lou, did you have whether it was PS2 or not, just out of curiosity, did you have an online game that has not been replicated for you since, as far as that feeling of like, oh, this is, I can't stop?
Yes, but no. It's
okay.
When I would go over a friend's house, we would play Halo, and I didn't have it. I would like spawn, die. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Gears 2 introduced that you guys could work as a team against the CPU in horde mode. I go, this is fun. Like, I'm playing with my friends, and with them. I'm not trying to kill them. Yeah. So every Gears since then has had that. And not many games that I play have that. I remember back in the day, the Ghostbusters game came out in 2009, had a little bit of a horde mode as well. But I haven't been able to recapture that in terms of like, all right, we're all kind of together and working towards a common goal here, instead of, let me peek my head out, sniped by like a 16-year-old kid, doped up on Mountain Dew and shit.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience online. Was terrible, and then the next one was amazing.
Okay. So that was, because that's the thing too, yeah. Because even like Lou, when you and I play, like we rarely play against each other in anything. We're always like, let's play co-op, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Because like even like when we play like when we play wrestling games, you're always like, let's just play a tag team match together. And I'm like hyper competitive sometimes. So I'm like, no, we're gonna play against each other. That's just how it is, And so
I'll give you a triple threat match if you're lucky. Okay, great.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, elimination style. So yeah. Anyway, sorry. I know that was totally we totally jumped off topic there, but I was looking at pictures of the PlayStation Internet Adapter, and it was like screwed on the back of the console, and you plugged your internet, like your phone jack, into it basically, and that brought you in you know online capabilities. Now, of course, this was back before you had to pay for an online subscription, right? I mean, it wasn't very polished, but this was if you could get online, that was it. You could play against other people without paying extra for it, other than the adapter. Yep. And so, what are some other fun? Yeah, I should have done research on the accessories. I know there was one other one that I specifically want to talk about was the multi-tap. Did either of you guys have a multi-tap?
Oh, yeah.
Sure
I did have a friend that had it for when we played, it was a wrestling game. I want to say it was Shut Your Mouth.
Yeah, and you could do, I didn't realize that, so that had multi-tap functionality or whatever?
It did, yes.
Okay. What about you, Derek? Did you have a multi-tap?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say, like, man, just bringing it up made me think about it. Crash Bash, like
okay,
like a Crash Mario Bandicoot. Party, right? Was that like a Mario Party kind of thing?
Yeah, it was a bunch of mini game style stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the PlayStation's answer to Mario Party, and the Xbox's what was that Xbox Party game called? Everyone
Sonic
had
one too on
Fusion
Dreamcast. Frenzy.
There's Fusion Frenzy. That was like the Mario Party of Xbox, and so then you had Crash Bash on PS2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So multi-tap. Yeah, I didn't have a multi-tap. I never wanted to buy one, or I wouldn't have had enough friends to come over and play more than 2 people anyway, so it didn't matter. But because you could have one
in this closet next to me, I could pull out the multi-tap.
You still have yours? Yeah. See, man, that's wild. What about you, Lou? Any accessories you remember from the? Oh, sorry, you got. Yeah.
Not an accessory, but a feature on the PS2. We were talking about the DVD player.
Oh, yeah.
What about?
Yes.
And obviously, it was a CD player. But what about the PS1 disc CD player?
We never talked about that last time. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you could play.
So when you could take your PS1 games, put them on. If you open up the disc drive, put in the PS1 and put in your PS1 disc into the PS2. And didn't boot up the game, you went to the options menu, you had the ability to listen to like the soundtracks.
Yeah.
So some of it was just sound effects. Some of them were terrible. And being a Twisted Metal fan, you actually heard the soundtrack of the game. And it blew my mind back in the day. I'm like, whoa, again, way before YouTube, being able to hear the soundtrack of a game. And
it was basically a Rob Zombie CD, right?
Essentially, towards the end, it was Rob Zombie and Rob Zombie-esque artists. I'm like, this is amazing. So that was a cool, like, I guess it's an Easter egg, but it was, everybody knew about it at one point, but that was really cool, was to have that.
Well, it worked in a regular, I had a regular CD player, too, that would play PlayStation 1 soundtracks. Like, I would just put my PS1 in it. So, like, that's how I first heard, like, all the Tekken songs, and I was, this is amazing.
But I don't think anybody knew that when PS1 was out. Like, if you take your PS1 and you put it, PS1 game, you put it, in its stereo, it's going to play play the music. I'd be like, no, what the hell are you talking about? Like,
maybe.
I don't think anybody knew about that.
I don't think so either. I think it was like an accidental. You went to the wrong menu when you were putting a PlayStation game in on the PS2, and it started playing the music.
It's not a bug; it's a feature. Okay. Yeah. No, good stuff. Was there anything like that on the PS2 or no?
Well, no. That's what I was saying. That was on PS2.
On
PS2 is when I discovered it. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, because you could do it on PS1
so when you
as well.
Could you listen to the music of the game?
You could put a PS1 game in your CD player and it would play music from the game.
Yes, but I didn't know. The way I discovered it was when you put the PS1 game into the PS2.
Okay.
Went to the disc option menus, and then you were able to listen to the soundtrack through that because it was a CD player.
Gotcha.
That's how I discovered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying now. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yes. Yep. Okay. Then that's I love it. Yeah. Plus, and again, I played DVDs. Was there any other like? Yeah.
Well, I did have a DVD remote you could buy for it, so it plugged into the memory card ports. So I don't remember if you had to unplug it. It had to be in the first memory card port, or you could put it in the second one. But I remember this is a tiny little remote. It was an expensive little thing. It was probably like $30, $40, but it was cool. Yeah. It was a remote. I feel like an adult, like, I don't have the wired controller. And that I segued into my own thing. First wireless controller I had was on the PS2, and it was god-awful. Terrible.
Oh, really? I never had a wireless one for PS2.
So bad. I think it came out the same time as the Waybird on GameCube.
Oh,
which
that
I
was
got
amazing.
after this. So that was fantastic. So it was probably a third party. The thing had to be like the size of a PlayStation, a PS2 controller and a half. It was so freaking big. It felt like a boomerang. It had to have weighed about 3 to 4 pounds. It was terrible. It just it didn't receive the signal good, and the batteries died. And that is one area the PS2 failed on, was the wireless technology for the actual game controller. The GameCube leaps and bounds better with their wireless accessory. Just the wireless controller was great.
Yeah. What about you, Derek? Did you ever?
So was that controller? Sorry, was that controller about the size of the original Xbox controller?
Oh, I would say the weight wise, yes,
massive.
Yeah,
that was more north south. The original Xbox, the Duke, was more north south. This was more east west. It was like
just wide.
It just stretched it out a little bit more. It was probably the same thing, but yeah, it was a beast.
That's amazing. Did you have any wireless controllers for the PS2, Derek?
I don't think so. If I did, they were probably like the garbage, like Mad Cats or
like the infrared sensor technology that never worked properly
it wasn't great.
Shitty battery life.
Dust particle went in between the receiver and the controller. Like, signal lost, like in the post battle. Like,
I was
great.
say, it's like growing up. Where I lived, we couldn't get cable for many years. We had satellite. It was DirecTV, and then it was called Prime Star before then. And like anytime it rained out, you got no service, right? So it's like that for a wireless controller. Now I tell you, I did not have any wireless controllers, but I do love, and I feel like they hadn't really done it much since. PS2 had a lot of really cool novelty controllers that like. Yeah. And Lou knows what I'm talking about. He's smiling right now because we bought some over the summer one time.
That's some cool ones.
Yeah, dude. Like, so
we also had no money because we had no money.
I know. Yeah. So we bought wired controllers that one of them was like a Japanese samurai themed. And like, for the record, these things, we didn't ever use them because they like hurt your thumbs and like to hold. It was like a torture device for your hands. And like, it was like, it just didn't feel good, but they looked fucking, I wish we kept them because they looked really cool.
I do have one of them somewhere. I saw when I was moving and I kept it.
Please, if you can, send a picture to me and I'll post it on the Generation S Instagram page. But we had a samurai Japanese. Now, was it 2 of each or was it 1 of each? Because there's 2 different ones we bought. I'm trying to remember.
I think the reason we got it, I think it was a 2-pack for $20, and we should have known these are god awful and they're going to suck.
I think it was it Spencer Gifts or Hot Topic? It was one of those.
It was one of those. I think it was Spencer's.
I think it was probably Spencer's. Anyway, so the Japanese samurai themed one, and then we had like a zombie themed one with like blood and guts and bones sticking out of it, and like it looked so cool. But God, it played like shit. Like it's not. It's like it's like the equivalent of having like those fine like seashell soaps in your bathroom that nobody uses to wash their hands. It's like you don't actually use that. That's just there for show.
I got a novelty controller at Comic-Con this year for $5, and it works better than it looks because it's the New York Jets one. And you think it's something with the Jets, it wouldn't work. Yeah. But it actually does work.
For what system? Is PS2?
PS2.
There it is. See, I don't think they make novelty controllers anymore, right? When was the last time? I mean, I know Xbox.
Just different colors.
That's really it, though. Or like different.
They still make some, man.
Like cool one. Well, there's one company that I buy from that makes cool looking novelty controllers called 8-Bit Do. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
They're great.
They're fantastic.
They're great.
So I have a Switch
sponsor, but if they want to,
dude, I'd love it. Dude, I'll plug that shit for free. Send me a controller, I'll plug the shit out of them. But no, so like I have like a one that's like shaped like a PS2 controller, but it's Super Nintendo colored and themed and everything like that. So I use that for my Switch. There you go. They got a knockoff. Derek's holding up a Switch Pro controller knockoff that they have. They got some cool shit. But again, it's all gaming themed, not like just like weird, creaturey, funky, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure there's some out there. I know, like for example, there's there you go. Yeah, he's showing me you got the mouse. Nice. I heard that mouse suck. I'm looking at Derek just showed us.
It's not great. It's not great.
I'm intended to buy it. Derek's showing us a picture of not a picture, but he's holding up. He's got an NES themed 8-Bit Do mouse, and it's like clunky and square looking. I can't imagine it's comfortable to use for a long time.
It's not great at all.
But again, it's like the PS2 controllers that they just looks really cool. Like I would display the shit out of that thing if I had one of those kind of deal. You know what I mean? And then use something else in secret to because it just it's not very functional. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Anything else you guys want to talk about as far as functionality or features of the PS2 before we jump into some of these game memories from listeners?
So did either of you guys have the PlayStation 2 iToy?
Oh, that's the other one I
No.
want to talk about. No, and I always wanted to buy it and I never did. So basically, yeah. So I actually go ahead, Derek. You want to explain it because it sounds like you might have had one too.
So iToy was a webcam essentially for the PlayStation 2 that allowed you to use your body as the controller.
That's right. Where have we heard that one before?
This was actually before the Wii, at least. So
It was, but it was after a shit ton of failed experiments from Sega and Nintendo.
Yeah. And I'd argue that it's probably a still failed thing. We did have
Roland
one,
Rocker.
Oh, right, yeah.
We did have one. It wasn't great. I remember one game you had to like hit bubbles or something.
That's the one I remember playing in the Walmart like demo kiosk. That's what made me want to buy an iToy, and I never did.
That was the best game because it would like mirror your image and like flip it and cut it up, and it really messed with your brain. But
yeah, it was back before webcams were like a thing.
Else.
You know, yeah. I was gonna say that was like, I thought it was so cool. It was like the future, man. I was so into it, and then it just never. Yeah, I never bought it, and I probably didn't miss much. But awesome. All right, well then that's a perfect segue. So, guys, as I mentioned before we started recording, you got some great listener feedback on the Generation S Facebook page. So if you're not following us on there, make sure you follow at Generation S Podcast. You'll recognize the logo immediately. Go ahead and join up, and you'll see posts like that come through if I'm looking for listener feedback. So here we go. I put it out here just yesterday, in fact, saying that we're going to be talking PS2 for the first podcast of 2024. What are some of y'all's memories? So I'm going to go. We got some good. I want to say we probably got like almost 20 different responses. So
Oh wow.
let me know. And now some of these are repeat games, obviously, but anything new that comes up, I'd love to get your thoughts. So Odeon, my good boy Odeon here in Atlanta, future award-winning author who's going to be coming up on the show here very soon to talk Spider-Man with me in a future episode. So it's pretty funny. I want to share this. He said, my not-so-favorite memory of the PlayStation 2 was owning a Dreamcast and watching it slowly crumble over under Sony's grip of the industry. Also enjoyed some of the SmackDown games on PS2.
No. Poor guy.
So, well, I will
know.
say this: he's right. If you were a sports fan, Dreamcast at the time was
the best.
still the superior system with the sports games.
Yeah.
So if you had a Dreamcast and you love those sports games, and once PS2 came out, it just slowly died a painful death.
Yeah.
But the sports games, the actual sports games on Dreamcast were amazing. And it's funny, I was talking to a kid. Emphasis on kid at work. He's like 21, and they were talking about he was about NBA 2K23 that's out, or 24, whatever the hell the number is. And he goes, "Oh, do you have a favorite sports game?" I go, "Yeah, NFL 2K." He goes, "What number?" I go, "NFL 2K." He's like, "But which one?" I go, "NFL 2K, meaning NFL 2000." He goes, "Oh, I didn't know they made it without a number." I go, "Oh, crap."
Oh,
Yes,
man.
it came out on the Dreamcast. It was just 2K. But the wrestling games were the opposite. They were crap on the Dreamcast.
Well, they were just ports
and
of like
very
other
good on the
systems.
PS2.
Yeah, because I mean, on the Dreamcast, you had WWF Royal Rumble, which was an arcade game, and it sucked. And you had WWF Attitude, which is a port of a really shitty Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 game.
And then both the CW games were
same thing though.
basically
I mean,
Attitude.
that's
No,
what
that's what I'm saying. That was it.
That was all they had. So yeah, they didn't have their own unique games that were just them. So there we go. So Andrew, a longtime listener to the show, Madden 04 with Michael Vick on the cover says it's the greatest football sports video game ever made. Lou, that's a hot take considering what you talked about with the 2K series.
Absolutely not. NFL 2K5. NFL 2K5. I got the right number now.
Oh man.
I disagree with that, but I know that the Madden was good that year.
Yeah.
But I still think 2K5 was better.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And then Derek, you're not a sports
horse
game
in this race.
I was gonna say Derek is like the
Not at
opposite
all.
of a sports game fan, so that's good. This will
the
be
best sports games. The best sports games are NBA Jam and NFL
Knew it.
Blitz.
I knew it. Yeah.
It's I mean, honestly, NFL Blitz is the only football game I was ever consistently good at on the PS1. So yeah, I can.
I'll throw
agree.
you one more. Try NHL Hits.
Oh yeah,
it's exactly.
I'll say this: any hockey game is probably the best hockey game.
Yeah.
they're so much fun.
Fight everybody.
I love
NHL
it's
Hits
amazing.
is
Yeah.
you can't blink once you get to like the playoffs or like
it's
more
intense.
difficult teams. You're not blinking for like 5 minutes straight.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
nuts.
Love it.
I just had an epiphany. I
What's
do have
that?
a favorite
Oh.
sports game on the PS2.
What is it?
Okay.
NBA Street Volume 2.
Okay.
Oh, it's a great game.
Yes.
That game's so much fun.
That's a franchise I need to bring back is NBA Street because that was
I agree.
actually
Yes.
You know what? Again, I know we're going to go back to and we're going to do a Sega episode in the future, but one of my favorite Sega sports games was Barkley's Shut Up and Jam. Do you guys either you guys play that?
I do remember that.
Never heard of
It was basically a 2D NBA Street. It was like a street basketball game with like Charles Barkley as the cover star. It was amazing. Anyway, totally. All right, moving down through. So, Andrew, sorry. Lou thinks your game sucks. Trisha in upstate New York. It's okay, man. Listen, Lou, just you're 2K
You heard it here
guy.
first.
You heard it here first.
It sucks. It's a terrible game.
Lou Carnivale shits on Madden. Okay. All right, Trisha in upstate New York says, now all she says is Spyro. Now, I know Spyro got its start on the PS1, but there were PS2 Spyro games. I never played them. Did either of you guys play them? Lou, you first?
I did, and the thing is, that's what I played first was Spyro on PS2, and I go, this is terrible.
Oh, okay.
And then, unfortunately, when I had COVID, back when COVID started, I'm like, I just need to get something to get my mind off of things. And Spyro, the original 3, was able to be like a HD collection.
Oh,
The ones
that's
that
right,
are on
yeah.
PS1. They were amazing, and actually would make me say they're probably it's my second favorite series on PS1. But Spyro on PS2, definitely not as good as the ones on PS1.
What about you, Derek? Did you play Spyro on PS2?
I'm just shitting on everybody's opinion.
That's okay, man. That's what they're here for.
I had to do a quick Google search because I was like, they had a PS2 one, but I guess they did. Yeah, I did. I think I did play Enter the Dragonfly. I think that's the one that came out on PS2.
It was a different developer at that point. I remember that was the big thing was like it wasn't the original developer. Same thing with Crash Bandicoot, honestly. Like it was all because there was a bunch of PS2 games for Crash that I never played. So
yeah,
but same thing apparently.
all of my memories for Spyro are on the original PlayStation.
Same here.
And they're solid games.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
all right. Jeff in Canton, Georgia writes in, he just wrote Twisted Metal Black, and we've already covered that pretty much to death here, and we covered it on a previous episode, so we won't have to go into it too much. I will ask you, because Lou, I know all about this from you, but Derek, did you have a main for Twisted Metal Black?
I mean, I hate to be that guy, but Sweet Tooth.
Okay. All right.
Like, he was just the most interesting to me.
He was the best. He was the best. They did have a second Twisted Metal game on PS2. Derek, did you know about Twisted Metal Head On?
I think so. I don't remember it being good though.
It was a PSP port. So it was like a PS 1.5 graphics game. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was like this true sequel to Twisted Metal 2.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, because then they had the different developer for Twisted Metal 3 and 4 back in the day. So,
Yep.
all right. Clint in Alabama writes in, Metal Gear Solid. We didn't have a memory card, so that was an experience. See, there you go. See, I'm not the only one who didn't have a memory card to play Metal Gear Solid. Love that. All right. Jack down in Florida, longtime listener of the show here. And actually, it's funny. This is actually... is a friend of our family's. He's like my dad's friend. So I love the fact that he plays video games because I never knew that growing up. I just knew him as my dad's friend, but apparently he played all the way since back in the day. But anyway, he shouts out that, and we haven't talked about any of these games yet. And I feel like maybe it's because we didn't play them, but I'll throw it out there. Gran Turismo. Did you guys, either of you guys play Gran Turismo on PS2? See, I wasn't a racing game.
The racing.
Yeah. I mean, other than like
I didn't mind racing. Yeah, Mario Kart, Burnout 3 Takedown was a great game, but it wasn't really a racing game. Gran Turismo was.
Yes. Burnout's
That's such a good game, right? And Striker on Crash FM. Whoa.
Yeah. So Gran
If you never
Turismo
played the game, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
and honestly, I haven't. So
Great game.
Yeah, man. But Gran Turismo, that was more like a simulator, right? That was like legit.
Yes.
Like, see, and that's why I'm not a car guy.
Stuff.
You know, like I never got into the race. Like, what's the other one that's on Xbox? Horizon? No, Forza Horizon. That's another one that's like that, right? Where it's like a simulator. I mean, they look beautiful. They're amazing looking, but like I just don't care for the gameplay.
Yeah, that's what I remember like seeing advertisements and be like, that's like almost real life. Like they can't get any better than this.
Yeah, and see, but then I'm like, I'm just gonna go drive my own car because that's more fun than this, you know, in my little Kia Forte. Yeah. All right, here we go. Ty of the Whiskey Loadian podcast, longtime listener as well. He threw a couple out here again, some of which we have not covered yet. So I'd love to get your thoughts, guys. First one that he lists is Final Fantasy X. And I know you're not an RPG guy, Lou, but what about you, Derek? Did you have Final Fantasy X?
Final Fantasy X is the first Final Fantasy game that I played all the way through and completed, and it was an experience. And I love that game.
Have you gotten the remake for it?
Absolutely love it. I did get the remake. I played it for about an hour, and then I was like, oh yeah, I don't have time for this.
It's a beefy game, man. It's because Lou,
I do love that game though.
Yeah, Lou, you didn't have fun. You didn't play Final Fantasy, right? That was never your thing.
No, I've never owned a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
sucks too.
Whatever. Yeah, no, that will kind of suck. You didn't play it, so you can't say it sucks.
No, I didn't play. I know Final Fantasy is an amazing game. It's just not up my alley.
No, yeah, it's
10
totally
is great.
See, I never played 10.
The cutscenes are beautiful.
Well, for the time especially,
Yeah, for the time especially, but yeah, I remember just being blown away by the cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah. I played 7 and 8 and 9 on the PS1, and I only beat 8 of all the 3, which is funny because they say it's the worst of the 3, which I loved it. I don't care. But never played 10, so that might be one that I end up picking up eventually. But not anytime soon because, like you said, that's a beefy one, and I just don't have time. There's a reason that I returned my PS5 2 hours after buying it, is I just don't have time for it. So I'm not gonna get a game that's gonna take me 60 hours to feel like I beat it. That's my thing, and maybe that's just because I'm a dad now. I don't know, but like I like games that I can beat in under 30 hours. Right? Is that? I mean, anything beyond that, and I just feel like I'm going forever because I'm one of those guys where once I start a game like that, I can't play anything else until I beat it. Otherwise, I feel like I'm never going to go back to it, and I'm going to have to start it over again anyway. You know what I mean? So a game that's going to take me 60 hours, like, I'm sorry. I got an 8-year-old. I've got a 5-year-old. I'm not playing that game anytime soon. As much as I'd love to, and believe me, I would love to, I can't do it. So now all the games I play these days are like super short. Either I can beat them in like a sitting, like an old school, like retro, like true game, like retro game, or like an indie game that's going to take me 15, 20 hours to beat. Or actually, I did just beat, and again, totally off topic because this is a PS1 or PS2 episode, but I did just recently beat the remake of Super Mario RPG for the Nintendo Switch.
Nice.
And that was amazing because
that's my favorite RPG game.
Well, the remake on the Switch, Lou, is incredible. So you need to go buy it. It's that good. Anyway, okay. That was just the first one Ty listed, by the way, guys. I got 2 more that he listed here. We got Soul Calibur. Did either of you guys play Soul Calibur? Well, you didn't, Lou, because you weren't a fighting game guy. So we'll count you out of this discussion. But you can tell us it sucks. It's fine. But Derek, you had it, right?
Yeah, I don't think I owned it, but I definitely played it with friends and stuff. I was never not good at it at all.
I'm terrible at Soul Calibur. That's why I don't play it. It's because it's the same people who made the Tekken games, but it's such a different gameplay style that I'm just not. I'm not good. Now I do love that Soul Calibur 2 because this was a big thing. Every time I would watch wrestling on Monday nights, they would have commercials for Soul Calibur 2. So maybe you remember this, Lou. But do you remember that each console had an exclusive character for that game?
I do, because I do remember renting it towards the end of the PS2 cycle. Yes.
Yeah. So, and you had it on PS2, so you had Heihachi as the exclusive character who's from Tekken. And then, Derek, do you remember who the... You remember GameCube? Go ahead, Lou.
GameCube was Link, right?
GameCube was Link, Derek. And then, do you remember Xbox, Lou? Do you remember who the exclusive for Xbox was?
Spawn, I believe, right?
It was Spawn, exactly, who made a return in last generation's Mortal Kombat game, by the way. Mortal Kombat 11.
Yes, he did.
So there you go. Fun fact.
Nice.
And finally, the third game Ty gives us is one that Derek already touched on, but we didn't really talk about it much, is Kingdom Hearts, which...
Man.
That's a game. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I tried playing it when it was re-released on the PS3 as like the collection of 1 and 2, right? This is before, obviously, the third one came out.
I did as well.
I didn't finish it. Like, I loved the idea of Disney characters being in an RPG, but I don't know if it was the gameplay or what. I just was not hooked on it. And so, because I was expecting like more of a Final Fantasy style RPG with the turn-based combat, which I am a huge fan of, whereas this was definitely less that and more like third-person combat with RPG stats. And I don't know, man, like, tell me, what was it about Kingdom Hearts for you, Derek, that like sucked you in? Was it the Disney characters and all that, or?
I don't necessarily think it was the Disney characters, but the commercial for it just blew you away as like a young teenager. It was just amazing. I don't know. I think I enjoyed the combat system. I liked being able to run around and mash buttons because I'm a button masher. Not that you really mash buttons. You still have to select your attacks and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. But just being I did really enjoy like turning into the different things when you were in the different worlds and stuff.
Yeah.
But man, it's been so long. I like you. I try to pick it up and play it again, and I couldn't. I just couldn't get back into it.
Can't get into it. I don't know, man.
About it.
And then
as an adult, I don't
know. Lou, did you ever play it back in the day, Lou, or?
No, back in the day, no. But I did try. I guess they remade them on the PS4, and it just didn't age well, I think.
Yeah. And that could, and I just, yeah. I mean, like I said, they're classics for and rightfully so, but I didn't get into them. I wish I could say I did more, but because they look fantastic, and the whole concept is amazing. And I wish other companies could take risks like that and do something cool and funky and unique. Because that's the thing about Square Enix is they always kind of did that. They did it first with Mario, with the Mario RPG, where they partnered with Nintendo, and then they partnered with Disney for Kingdom Hearts. I'm like, shit. I mean, who could they partner with next? Like, I would totally play. For the record, I would play the hell out of a Nickelodeon style RPG like that. Just throwing it out there, universe. All right, let's see here.
I will say Square needs to chill with their copyright stuff though, because anytime you select the Kingdom Hearts map on Smash, Ultimate, if you stream it, it removes all of the audio from the game.
Oh no, shit, really?
Yeah,
damn.
Yeah. And that's one of our legal stages in the Smash community. But,
jeez, that's bullshit.
That sucks.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know if it's a Disney thing or if it's a Square.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, could it be a Disney thing? Maybe, I don't know. Because I'm
not sure.
Interesting, huh? Let's see. All right, so a couple more people said Final Fantasy X. Let's see here. Oh, Abby here in Atlanta said Grand Theft Auto and SOCOM Navy SEALs. So there you go. Maybe she had the online. I guess could you play it offline though? You didn't have to have online for that, right?
Yeah. So I think they had like a campaign mode.
Okay.
Offline, and you could the game still paired with like a headset.
Yeah.
That you could get for it, because you could tell your AI companions like specific voice commands to tell them to like go places or attack and stuff.
Gotcha.
So there was a single player aspect to it as well, but the most fun was definitely the online.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Let's see. Jesse in upstate New York said Grand Theft Auto. Again, we've already talked about those. I mean, they are amazing games. Like, we could do a whole podcast on the Grand Theft Auto PS2 games. Let me ask you.
Probably should.
Well, honestly, what I like to do first, this, I like to do an overview episode first, then feel like I can go deeper on specific games or whatever. So I'm going to ask both of you guys your favorite GTA, and it could be because it's the only one you played, but in general, Lou, we'll start with you. What is your favorite GTA game on PS2?
The original. Okay. I just think I was, like everybody, blown away by it. It's nostalgia at its strongest. It's definitely not the best game out of the three, but for me, it's the one I have the most fun with. Yeah. I think a lot of people would say San Andreas because the gameplay just keeps getting better and better and better. Right. But for me, the nostalgia of, being in Liberty City, being in New York, I was going to say, fun.
You're a downstate New Yorker from, so I mean, like, for you, that's like it was up your alley from that perspective, I guess, right? Like, I guess if I lived in Miami, I would say Vice City, but honestly.
Exactly, and if you lived in California, you would say San Andreas.
San Andreas. Well, now what about you, Derek? Because you did not live in Florida, but did you say Vice City was your favorite?
Dude, Vice City is my favorite. Specifically, the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean,
it's just 80s power ballads the whole time.
And wasn't it great? I mean, wasn't it basically like if Scarface was a video game before they made a Scarface video game?
Pretty much. Like,
that's what I thought.
Pretty sure there's a character in there that you like kill that's like
Scarface.
Of Scarface.
That's amazing. And then
the story.
Well, the new ones
I can't really remember the story, but it was super fun. And anytime Quiet Riot came on, I was like, yeah.
There you go, man. And then,
the new
Vice
one's
City's
coming out
back.
finally.
That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be Vice City, and then somewhere, I think, either in Cuba or Puerto Rico, it's gonna do that split character thing like they did in the last one. So should be exciting.
Right. Yeah, GTA 6, man. Jeez, can you believe it? We're talking about GTA 3 from our childhood, and they're only on GTA 6 at this point. 25 years later, almost.
Well, if you think about it, though, that's because they weren't calling Vice City GTA 4 and then San Andreas GTA 5.
That's true. And then
they skipped and
that's a good point.
Liberty City Stories and things like that. So there have been other GTA games, kind of like what Street Fighter has done. It's Street Fighter EX 45,000. Like, no, it's just You only have to Street Fighter
Hyper Turbo Edition.
It's right, yeah.
Super
and that's a separate
Uber
game,
Mega
by the way.
Deluxe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this one you can
Yeah.
make Ryu orange. Okay. Yeah. Let's pay it. Let's
Take
pay
my
the
$50.
Take my $50, man. All right. Very cool. So yeah, GT. And honestly, I'm gonna say 3 because that's the only one I ever played. So that's my favorite by default.
Oh,
I never
okay.
played 3.
3 is good. man.
Really?
I mean,
Yeah.
You
never
can't
did.
go backwards. Can't go backwards.
Well,
It's not.
I
It's,
guess.
if you
Yeah.
played any of the other PS2 games and you go
That's
back,
fair.
it's rough.
yeah. If there's no
Yeah, it's
nostalgia
rough.
for it, Derek, you're probably not missing much at this point because yeah, it's
Is that
obviously
is that like the back to the top down style?
no.
that
It was
was
the
like-
first
No,
3D
it's-
one.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't as refined. That the map wasn't as big as the later games. The soundtrack was, I mean, it's fine, but whatever.
Gotcha.
The gameplay, it was basically like a mafia style, Sopranos style, game.
Yeah.
Right.
Guy you play as legitimately does not talk.
It
He doesn't
talk,
have any dialogue.
Doesn't have a name. Or
Gotcha.
no, he does have a
Okay.
name. Doesn't he have a name? I don't remember.
I don't think he has a name.
I don't even think he has a name. Yeah,
don't
like it's
remember.
so whatever.
He has
Yeah.
I
But it was the
remember he
first
has
one.
a black leather jacket and like green khakis.
That's right. And he walks around. And I remember like the iconic trailer for it you see on TV where he's holding like an assault rifle walking toward the camera with shit blowing up behind him. And he just had
Yes.
that like
Yes.
Italian opera singing in the background. It was like, oh, that's
Yes.
because again,
guys-
I watch wrestling every Monday night, and that was like one of the commercials that would come on. That's I think about
All
it.
the time.
There's so many commercials from our childhood that I watched at wrestling because that was when I watched most TV. It was 2 hours every Monday night.
They knew their demo.
They did.
While we're still on the Grand Theft Auto train here,
Yeah.
do you guys remember the huge commotion with San Andreas and how they were trying to get it pulled off of the shelves?
Hot coffee.
Hot coffee,
The
right?
Yep.
I
hot
could
coffee mod.
say this I could speak actually firsthand because I was working at Target in the electronics section,
Ooh.
and a memo came from corporate to the store and said, "Pull these games." Okay, pulled them, boxed them up, back to headquarters. They went. That was it. Yeah, it was because of that. How you got
So-
stamina, so to speak, or health. You lost stamina, but you got health.
Yeah.
So, for
Yes.
those that are not familiar with Grand Theft Auto, you are a street criminal. You are rising the ranks. And amongst that, a game called Grand Theft Auto where you
Yeah.
steal cars and stuff.
What?
Yeah. With that, there are sex workers in the game that you can hire and do stuff. Well, back in the PS2 era, they had a mod that you had to do some crazy stuff to have. You had to have like a game shark or something to change the code. And you had to do all these things to unlock a sexual mini game that you could play when you hired a prostitute. Things that would never be found. And then somebody found them, blasted it all over the internet, and guess what happened? Sales went through the roof.
Yeah.
For Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
They did, man. And it was, oh God, because I remember that. We talked about that in high school, and I was like, what? And again, I still never owned it, but yeah.
I remember actually getting the mod and testing
and
it.
experimenting hot coffee. And
It still wasn't nearly as bad as
of course
the
it
media was
wasn't.
portraying
No,
it, but-
none of it ever is.
Yeah.
That's whether
No.
it's violence or sex, none of it is. It's all overhyped. Come on, we all know
And
this.
you see worse on things on the 11 o'clock news.
And Family
For
Guy,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
Family Guy. Yeah,
So-
that's for true.
Yeah. So there it is. All right, here I got a new game, guys. We haven't talked about this yet, so let's see if you guys played it. Ian in Idaho wrote in and said ATV Off-Road Fury 2.
Yo.
That
Dude,
triggered-
I forgot about that game.
Triggered that for you. There
Yes. That game was so much fun. They had a lot of cool multiplayer stuff. And you could just drive around. And then if you went too far out of the map, their answer to that was invisible wall that would just send you flying.
you go. Oh, nice. Now, it was a racing game, right?
It was a it was a ATV 4-wheeler
Okay.
racing game, but they had cool mini games like basically you had like a tag or a keep away thing where you'd get like a ball or whatever, and the people you were playing with would have to try to hit you and get it back and stuff.
Yeah. Nice.
But-
Did you ever play it, Lou? ATV?
I did not play it, but I seen the ads. I remember them more in like the actual like WWE magazines
Oh, yeah.
and other. I don't think PWI was still around, but just wrestling magazines in general. I remember seeing that ad all the time for months and months and months.
Yep.
It's not something I would have played, but it's also something I wouldn't have shied away from, but I just never came across it. I wouldn't have bought it, but none of my friends had it. But if I went to their house, I certainly would have played it.
Nice. Yeah, there it is. And unfortunately,
also had a phenomenal soundtrack too.
Oh, did it? Okay. See, I never played it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a dog in the fight, but I do remember seeing ads for it, like Lou said. So, all right, here we go. Steve up in Albany. He talks about, well, he says WWF Warzone, but that was a PS1 game, so you're wrong, Steve. But he did say another one that I'm pretty sure you played, Derek, because I feel like we talked about this, but Silent Hill 2 on PS2. We'll start with you, Derek. Did you play that game? Dude,
I was a huge baby back in the PS2 era. So do you guys remember I think they still make them, but do you guys remember like the like rocking chairs, the gamer rocking chairs that you had like audio inputs and they had speakers in the back of them?
Yes.
Oh yeah, the gaming chairs. They're still a thing, I think. I think you can still find in stores.
They're still a thing. They're probably like Bluetooth and a lot easier to set up now.
I'm sure nowadays
cables all over your room.
Right.
It wasn't Silent Hill. Silent Hill was too scary. I never even purchased it.
Nice.
I did have a copy of, I think, Resident Evil 4 when it finally ported to the PS2, because I think it originally came out on
It was a GameCube game first. Yeah.
I did have Resident Evil 4, and I had one of those V-Rocker chairs, and I tried to play it, and I think I got to where you get eaten by that crocodile monster thing. I was like, nope, done. Nope.
Nice.
Zombies in your ear right behind you. It was not a smart way to play that game.
That's fair. Yeah. No.
So I've, to this day, have not ever beaten
Resident Evil 4. I tell you what, again, to go on a side tangent, if you have an Oculus, it is fantastic in VR, just for the record.
Nice.
It's very, very intense, but it's a lot of fun. What about you, Lou? Did you ever play Silent Hill? You never played Silent Hill, right?
No.
Okay.
I hate horror movies. I
was saying you're not a scary guy. Like, you don't like scary anything. So yeah, I figured you probably didn't play it.
The scariest game I played is Luigi's Mansion.
Luigi's Mansion? I mean, that's
Luigi's Mansion, scariest game I played.
That's pretty scary, man. I mean, that's okay.
It is.
You know,
I have a bad experience with Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, do you? That's too bad. What you don't like it?
I played through the entire game, got to the final boss, never died, never saved.
Oh no!
Died at the final boss.
Yeah, King Boo.
Found out the hard way. Yep.
Yeah.
Found out the hard way that it resets to your last save. So I've never beat Luigi's Mansion either.
No, that's fair. That's this pre-auto save days, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Here we go. A couple more here. Alex in upstate New York. This is interesting. So I've heard of this game, but I never played it. Shadow Man. Does that ring a bell to either of you guys? Yeah.
No, I'm waiting for somebody to talk about. I'm waiting for somebody to talk about Shadow of the Colossus, but not just Shadow. I don't remember that. No idea what that is.
Shadow Man. Okay, so I'm looking it up too. This was actually
as we all reach for our phones.
I'm looking it up. No, it was a PlayStation 1 game. So sorry, Alex.
Uh-oh.
Maybe you played it on your PS2.
Warzone. Next, that game sucked automatically.
Hey, hold on. To be fair, they may have played it on their PS2 because it was backwards compatible.
That is true.
That's what I'm saying. So it absolutely entirely possible. But now that you bring up Shadow of the Colossus,
looking at it.
Right? Yeah. But so now that you bring up Shadow of the Colossus, Lou, did you play that game back in the day?
I did. It was, I'm showing my age. I rented it. So I don't remember too much about it, but I remember just playing it a few times, and I remember the gimmick of it. The bosses were supposed to be and they were massive compared to you. They would take up the entire screen, and had a God of War-esque vibe to it. Yeah. To me at least, and that's another PS2 game. All the God of Wars, PS1, PS2. I don't think they came out on PS1.
No, it was PS2. Yeah,
but I just remember playing and being in awe of the graphics. Like a lot of people were at the time, but didn't own it, but just rented it once or twice.
What about you, Derek? Did you play Shadow Colossus?
I never played it.
No.
Like,
I played it.
I
bought it.
Seeing ads for it.
Yeah, I was saying I bought it as a remake on the PS3, and I played it like twice, and I never kept it after that.
I played their other game, Ico.
Oh yeah. That was the 2-pack that Shadow of the Colossus came with in the remake.
Or I think I only played,
I know
the
this
demo.
game.
Yeah, the demo.
Shadow Man.
Game.
Oh, you're looking up Shadow Man? Go back.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just brought it out. Derek, I apologize. I just got so excited because I'm like, what the hell game is this?
Yeah.
Core memory unlocked.
Yeah, something. It was like an N64 game too.
I
Acclaim.
didn't play it, but I had friends that did, and actually I went to a thrift store with Dan Vorbeck, who's been on a couple of our episodes, and he fell in love with it. He's like, oh my God, it's Shadow Man. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And here I am like 2 months later, I go, what the hell is this game? I'm like, oh, I remember seeing this. You know, one thing I think we should touch on for the PS1 and 2 era is how important cover art was.
Yes.
Obviously,
Yes.
you're going into Toys R Us or Target or Walmart. It is what it is. You're not gonna go there and just browse. Oh, that game looks good. I'm gonna buy it. But at Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, cover art was super important.
Yeah.
So you had that $5, $6, $7, $8 either from you or from your parents, and you got maybe one game a week, maybe one a month. That cover art was impressive.
Yeah.
Shadow Man was something I just looking at the cover, I remember it now.
Yeah.
Never played it, but I remember that artwork because it was so cool. Of the dude holding the skull and stuff. It's great stuff.
Yep.
By Acclaim, who's out of business.
By Acclaim.
And it was a Dreamcast game.
See? There you go.
It's apparently getting a sequel or something. There's a
really?
official reveal trailer for Shadow Man Dark Legacy that I'm seeing.
There you go.
That was revealed in May of 2023.
Nice.
So.
And they made a remastered version of it. And
they
it's
did.
$80 on Amazon.
Oh, jeez. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So, Alex, you were wrong for calling it a PS2 game. There was a sequel that came out in PS2 in 02 called Shadow Man's Second Coming. So maybe that's one he played. So you know, maybe he I don't know. Maybe he did play that one. All right. Wow. So a couple more left here, and then I want to get to the top 20 list. So Cassie in New York, she talked about Kingdom Hearts, which we've already discussed, and then here we go, The Sims 2. Either of you guys play The Sims?
Oh man, that did come out on PS2, didn't it?
I did.
Yeah.
Now that I completely forgot about that, but yes, actually, now here's a core memory unlocked. So remember that piece of crap boomerang controller?
Yes.
Yeah, same Christmas I got The Sims on PS2.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
All right.
I haven't thought about that in forever.
I never got into The Sims personally. Like, it was just never. My wife loves it. Like, she just made me download The Sims 4 on PS4 for her so she can go play that. But I just never, because it's free to play now, by the way, in case you're curious.
It is. Not all the DLC though.
No, that's in they rake you over the coals.
That's how they
get
you.
So, well, I was like, you're going to be happy with the core game and you're going to like it, and that's it. But no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, what about you, Derek? Did you get into The Sims games at all?
I never really got into it. I do have a memory of renting it one night with my buddy and staying the night at his house.
Yeah.
I don't even know why we rented it, because that's not like a game that we would normally play.
No.
But, we did rent it and we were messing around with it. And I remember it playing a doorbell effect when somebody came over and his dog like freaking out. And we were very tickled by that. And then we were also very confused because that house did not have a doorbell.
I was going to say that my dog does the same thing. Like, he never hears our doorbell, but he hears a doorbell on the TV and he jumps. Like, what is it about doorbells and dogs? Did your dog ever jump at like doorbell sounds, Lou?
No, he was lazy. He would just look up like, you gonna get that? Like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry, don't get up.
Nice. Oh man.
All right. I'd forgotten all about that.
Yeah, dude. All right, last one here comes from my dad. So shout out to I guess I'll call him Dad on this. I don't know, Steve, whatever. My dad. He was kind enough to comment on this thread as well, and he goes, "Was that the one with the SS Tricky snowboarding game?" And I said, "Yes, it is."
Oh yeah,
because that was one of the few games.
Oh,
because. Do you remember those? The snowboard, they're the best, dude. They were like, to me, like that was the sequel successor to like the Cool Borders games on PS1.
That's what I was going to say. I had Cool Borders first as like the greatest hits when greatest hits cost $20.
Cool Borders 2.
Yep.
I remember that.
SSX Tricky, and I remember, that was an amazing game, and actually, finally, I wanted to talk about this earlier, but that was, again, him saying that reminded me that was one of the last games that he would play with us, because he would always play like Nintendo and Sega with us, usually the sports games, but that was the last game I remember him playing with us. And so let me ask you, we'll start with you, Lou. I know your parents played a lot of the earlier games with you, like Super Nintendo and Nintendo and whatnot, but what was the last game you remember either your mom or your dad actually sitting down and playing with you?
My mom was Twisted Metal 2, and my dad was Driver on PS1 and NHL 97 on PS1.
Okay.
So that era,
PS1
era.
PS1. What about you, Derek? I know because you would spend time with your mom and with your dad separately. Like, did either of them play with you on like games or no?
Man, I want to say probably Sega Genesis was probably when they.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Stop playing. My mom wasn't really much of a gamer. I do have memories of playing. Did you guys ever play Death Duel?
Nope.
The Sega Genesis.
That doesn't ring a bell.
It was a very, very weird game. It took me forever to find that game, and now I cannot forget that name because it was very fun. That was a game that my dad and I would rent and play. Because we never owned it. We would just rent it. But he would. I mean, I think they would play like the Wii and stuff when that came out. But other than that, no, they didn't really.
Okay. Yeah.
They just let me sit in
really
my room
engage.
and play by myself.
There you go. And Derek's off doing his own thing. Let's go. Yeah. There it is. Okay. All right. I was just curious because, like I said, that's just a trigger that like my dad would play with us, and I think PS2 was the last time he might have played PS3 games with my brother, like the baseball games and stuff. But by then I had moved out, so I wasn't playing with him anyway. But all right. So we're gonna wrap this up here. This has been a great discussion, but we're gonna wrap up with the top 20 selling PS2 games of all time, and we're gonna go through them all and just give our thoughts if we haven't already talked about it. Fair. So here we go.
Fair.
Sure.
Coming in at number 20, selling 3.95 million copies, it's Madden 2004, which was already discussed earlier.
Go to hell.
So Madden 04 cracking the top 20 here with 3.95 million copies sold. Coming in at 19, it's Metal Gear Solid 3 with 4 million copies sold. And we already touched on it a little bit, Lou. I know you were not a big Metal Gear Solid fan, but Derek, you said this is your favorite Metal Gear Solid game of all time?
Yeah, I'd probably put it up. I don't know. It's hard to pass up Metal Gear Solid, like the original.
The original, yeah.
Like, but it was such a really cool take, a nice flashback, or because it takes place before.
It's a prequel.
The first game. Following the Metal Gear timeline is very difficult.
Yes. Oh yeah. All over the place.
But it was really cool. It had cool things where you could go through the whole game without killing anything. You could
just knock them out with a tranquilizer.
Everything, knock them out. And you would get different unlocks and stuff, which made fights harder and more difficult. It had really cool. Do you remember the sniper fight?
Yes.
And
well, there's a way to beat him.
With it?
You could. Well, if you snuck up on him.
There's 3 different ways you could beat him.
Yep.
There was if the very first time you see him, you can snipe him on the bridge and kill him right then.
Yep.
The other one is hunting him down and like trying to find him in the wilderness and killing him the way most people did. Or if you put down the game and saved it at that point, because the PlayStation 2 had an internal clock.
Yep.
And waited a week or changed the time on your PlayStation.
Yeah.
And launched the game, you would find him dead from old age.
Because he was an old sniper. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So clever. And that's what I loved about the Metal Gear Solid games, was because they did so much to just like kind of break the fourth wall with shit you could do. Like, so clever. And so I always kind of love that about it too. So anyway, Metal Gear Solid 3, 2 thumbs up for me. I have it on I'm probably going to get it on the Switch. I have it on my Xbox One now from the collection, but I just want to play it handheld.
Definitely buying it, the remake, like day one launch.
So absolutely. All right, here we go. Number 18, selling 4 million copies. So essentially a tie with Metal Gear Solid 3. It's the iToy, and specifically the iToy game Play. Oh. So there you go. So shout out to iToy once again here. Number 17. Oh, here's a series we haven't talked about yet, guys. With 4.2 million copies, it's Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. Now, that is a series.
The Jak. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was just going to say that is a series we have not touched on that is very well known, is Jak and Daxter. Lou, what are your thoughts on it?
Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Crash Bandicoot, this whole PlayStation had its... I know Crash Bandicoot's more of PS1, but they had their studios was pumping out good stuff. Ratchet and Clank also at this time period was good. So their homegrown, adventure games... PS1, PS2, especially in the PS2 era, were fantastic.
Yep, I agree. What about you, Derek? Did you play it in the Jak and Daxter games?
I think I only played like a demo of Jack and Daxter. I never really got into it. I had a lot of friends that thoroughly enjoyed them. I don't know why I never picked them up because they seem like phenomenal games. I just never did.
And they are, and it's funny because I always used to mix it up with Ratchet and Clank. So like I always kind of confuse the two.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, but I remember I didn't play Jack and Daxter, but I had on the PSP. It was just Daxter. Like he had his own game where you're just playing as the little otter weasel dude. Actually, he was called an Otzel, if I recall correctly, and it was fun. I liked it because it was like, again, it was my first portable gaming system was the PSP. So, all right, here we go. Coming in, it's fantastic systems PSP. Coming in at number 16, we have with 4.24 million copies. God of War 2, and there it is. God of War, another amazing series that I actually didn't play until the PS3 when they re-released them. But Lou, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the early PS2 God of War games?
Same thing. I got it. Actually, won it at in a promotion at a store. So yeah, the first games I played were and I believe it was one of the first times a game got remastered. It was the collection on PS3. It was God of War 1 and 2 because 3 was coming out. And they were very fun. Different than the God of Wars now on PS4 and PS5. It was more like what are they called? Hack and slash games.
Back
but very
then,
fun. Yeah, they were. I thoroughly enjoyed them. But later, like you said, on PS3 going back to PS2.
Yeah. What about you, Derek? Did you play God of War games?
Yeah, I played all of the ones on PS2 and PSP. I actually haven't played the new ones on PS4 and PS5.
They're fantastic.
I know they're good.
Yeah,
I own them. I don't have the latest one, but I do own the other one. I just haven't sat down to play it.
It's good. Yeah, I do highly recommend it. But yeah, so I played the remake on PS3, and then I ended up playing the one on PS3, God of War 3, and that of course blew my mind, because it was a beautiful game, with these big epic boss fights. I think the one thing I didn't like about it, but everyone hates it, is the QuickTime events, right? That's one thing I never got into was QuickTime event fights because I suck at them. I have terrible reflexes, and that's
because you have to pay attention.
Well, but like you got to pay attention. Like, all right, hit this. It's not like I know what button to press on the prompts. I have to be like, okay, not only do I have to wait for the button prompt, I have to then okay, which one is square? Fuck, then you're like, it's a pain in the ass. So I hate QuickTime events. I don't mind them. They can go die in a house fire as far as I'm concerned. All right, here we go. Number 15 with 4.35 million copies. Madden on the list again here. It's Madden 05 this time around. So just getting better and better, Lou.
No comment.
All right. Number 14 with 4.61 million copies sold. It's the original God of War. So the original outselling the sequel. Both fantastic games, obviously. But God of War there. Number 13 with 4.75 million copies. It's Kingdom Hearts 2, which we've already talked about the Kingdom Hearts games. Again, if that's your thing, they're amazing. They're incredible. Number 12 with 4.88 million copies, a series that we've never discussed, and I feel like none of us probably have much to say about it, but here it is. Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. Did you ever play any of the Dragon Quest games, Derek?
I did not, no.
Same here.
My extensive knowledge of Dragon Quest is you can play as the heroes from them in Smash.
Well, there it is. Okay. That's about it.
And they came out with a weird slime controller for their latest.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Their latest games, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then Lou, I'm assuming you never played Dragon Quest.
Nah, so I can't comment. And I joking about the Maddens because I just love the 2K series of PS2 games. I don't know anything about this game, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not saying it's not good. It's just something I didn't play back in the day.
I think this one was huge in Japan. I think that's honestly where it gets most of its love is Japan.
Yeah. I believe at least the artist of the Dragon Quest series is Akira Toriyama, and he was Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Which is why all of the characters in that game look like they came right out of Dragon Ball.
I mean, that's just the artist has a style, I guess.
But I could be wrong. So comment section, don't come after
me. Okay. All right, here we go. We're coming in now with number 11, and at 5.4 million copies. It's Final Fantasy X-2. So the first sequel to a Final Fantasy mainline game, I believe. Right, Derek?
I believe so as well. At least the direct sequel.
Because all the other feature number ones were totally different stories. You didn't have to play them in order, obviously, but 10-2 was like, play 10 first so you understand what's going on here.
Yep, it was a direct sequel with the characters. And I did play it all the way through. It's very strange. It's very weird.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people super enjoyed it?
No, not really. Yeah, my brother played it too, and again, he said, yeah, it's like it was strange because it was because that was, and wasn't there another sequel after this even too? Or no, maybe that was a different sequel to I can't remember.
No, they sequeled another
that might be
Final Fantasy series.
Yeah,
13 maybe.
Okay,
I think. But
all right, let's see. Here we go. Coming in at number. Where are we at? We're at number 9. No, number 10. Excuse me. At 5.9 million copies. The original Kingdom Hearts. There it is. At number 9, at 6 million copies, we've got Final Fantasy 12. Now, this was a different one. This was a unique one. I remember Final Fantasy 12 started to take Final Fantasy in a very different direction gameplay-wise. It was no longer the turn-based combat, but it was very similar to the online Final Fantasy, which had come out, Final Fantasy 11, where you had like kind of an open world and you were going around fighting, enemies without doing the turn-based, battles. Did you ever play Final Fantasy 12, Derek? I did not. My brother did. Loved it.
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lou, anything from you on that one?
I had to pass on this one also.
That's fair.
I swear, I actually did have games on PS2, but apparently they weren't very fun or very popular.
Yeah, apparently not.
Sure, Lou. Sure.
Well, I'm looking at the rest of this list, Lou, and let's just say that your taste in games is apparently not the norm for mainstream. All right, coming in at number 8 with 6 million copies, it's Tekken 5, which I loved. Loved Tekken 5. It was the first Tekken game I ever bought at launch. Like up until then, I had always bought them secondhand, used, whatever. Tekken 5, I bought new. I was like, no, I'm going to own this game. This is an amazing game. And yeah, so now I know you weren't a Tekken guy, Lou. Derek, did you have Tekken 5?
I did not have Tekken 5. My cousin had Tekken Tag, and I loved playing the volleyball mode in that game.
Yes.
Where you had to, that was very fun. So Tekken Tag is still to this day my favorite Tekken game.
It's a fantastic game. It's an excellent choice. All right, coming in at number 7 with 7 million copies sold, it's Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, a.k.a. the biggest bait and switch in video game history that I got so pissed off at when I first played.
Oh, you too, huh?
I was fucking livid. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to set the scene for you guys if you don't recall. Metal Gear Solid 1, as we talked about, was a landmark game in gaming history. It was just an amazing story. Solid Snake quickly became one of the coolest action heroes of all time. We start seeing trailers while I'm watching wrestling for Metal Gear Solid 2, and you're like, holy shit, Solid Snake is back. We're going on an adventure, baby. Let's do it. I buy Metal Gear Solid 2, one of the early games that I bought without a memory card, I might add, once again. I'm playing through the campaign. I'm starting off as Snake. We're on a ship. We're on like an enemy battleship or whatever the hell it was. An aircraft. It might have been aircraft carrier. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. I'm sneaking around. I'm beating the shit out of bad guys. It was a what?
It was like I think it was a boat.
It was like a battleship boat or something.
Yeah, something, yeah.
Doesn't matter. The point is it's raining outside. You're Snake. You're kicking ass. It's great. All of a sudden, Snake gets thrown in the water. You're like, that's cool, man. He's Snake. He'll bounce back. All of a sudden, cut to the next scene, and boom, we're playing as some weird blonde guy named Raiden, and he's your main character that you use for the rest of the goddamn game. Such bullshit. And I was not the only one pissed off at that, by the way.
No,
how quickly did they
very angry.
How quickly did they change characters? Like, 25% in, 50% in?
10% in.
Yeah, like 10% in. Like you get
wow.
You get a huge
and the trailer,
switch.
all the trailer showed was that first 10% of the game.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's messed up.
I was
pissed. And now mind you, like we're bringing, the big thing from the jump from Metal Gear Solid to Metal Gear Solid 2 was you could go into a first person mode.
Yeah.
And you could aim at their heads and like they would freak out, or aim at their different body parts and stuff, which was very funny.
Yeah, they would drop shit for you. Like you could like get key cards from enemies without having to kill them this time around, just by like pointing a gun.
And
at
you
them.
actually had to. And you had to hide the bodies in this game.
That's
like
right.
Anybody that you took out, you had to actually hide the bodies.
They didn't just disappear
like they did in the first game.
And if I recall, if you shot them, like if you killed them without breaking their neck and like they were bleeding, like the blood trail would follow them, I think. Or maybe that was one of the... Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
So like you got to be mindful of that too, but there's like lockers you could stuff them in. So anyway, you're playing this. So for the first 30 minutes, you're like, holy shit, this is what I wanted. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit, this is not what I wanted. Because all of a sudden you're this other asshole named Raiden, who ended up being pretty cool in future games, for the record.
Yeah.
But my God, what a bait! People were pissed about that, like livid.
You do grow to love him, but Yeah, it wasn't fun at the.
No, because he's even calling himself
As a
Snake at
teenager.
first. He's like, "This is Snake." I'm like, "That's not Snake. That's bullshit." So anyway,
and then
That's
you-
like
and then
that's
you
like
meet-
the
you meet
18-year-old
the
Dan
snake.
going, "That's not
Yeah.
Snake."
well, and then Snake comes
much.
back and is like a
Yeah.
side character that's helping
Pliskin.
you out, and he calls himself Pliskin. You're like, "Wait a second, hold on, hold the phone. That's Snake." Anyway,
Iroquois Pliskin.
I was so pissed. So that's Metal Gear Solid 2, folks. All right, coming in at number 6 with 8.3 million copies, Grand Theft Auto 3. There it is.
Hey, play the game.
Yeah, you did. All right, and then back to one Lou hasn't played at number 5, 8.5 million copies. It's Final Fantasy X.
No.
Not so much. Okay, here we go. Coming in at number 4, 10.5 million copies, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. There you go.
Hey.
Hey. All right. Coming in at number 3 at 11.76 million copies, Gran Turismo 4.
Oh, okay. I knew it was going to be on the list. I knew it was going to be in towards
Yeah,
the
same.
bottom
Yeah.
or the
Well,
top.
the top. Yeah, we're heading to the top now.
It's always surprising to me, though. I don't know why. I'm always surprised by how high it sells, but I guess there's just car people out there.
Well, coming in at number 2
So-
with 14.89 million copies, it's Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec. So I don't know if that's like a...
I mean, Gran Turismo Theft Auto is what I thought you were saying for a second.
I almost did. That's the problem. Yeah. Okay. I think it was the third game. Yeah. It was the third installment. They just called it A-Spec, whatever the hell that means. And finally coming in at number 1 with 17.33 million copies, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
San Andreas.
I-
Yep.
San Andreas.
Thanks, Hot Coffee Mod.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
There it is. There it is.
I mean, honestly.
And one thing to notice here, Lou, that unfortunately none of the wrestling games we loved made it in the top 20. In fact, the first wrestling game on the list coming in at number 34, WWE SmackDown versus Raw 2006.
Really?
Yep.
Very average
it
game.
beat Here Comes the Pain. I liked SmackDown in 2006. But let's see where Here Comes
It was
Here
all
Comes
right.
the Pain's got to be on the list. Let's see.
It's probably
No.
in the 50s.
It was number 99, actually,
Oh, wow.
with
Jeez.
1.5 million copies sold. 1.58,
All
I
right,
should say.
one other search, because me and Derek both played this. Was Twisted Metal make the top 100?
All right, let me look here. Twisted Metal Black. It is in the top 150, coming in at 150
Oh, jeez.
with
wow.
1.12 million copies sold.
I am also curious about Tony Hawk's Underground.
Oh, here we go.
because
Let's
that
look up
was
Tony.
a big.
Yep, I can look up Tony Hawk here. Let's take a
jump.
look. Tony Hawk's Underground, funnily enough, selling right there next to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, taking up the 49th and 50th slots in the best-selling games
Wow.
of all time. And then 51, just in case you're curious, was Star Wars Battlefront 2 with 2.3 million copies.
He saved me from asking another question.
There you go. And as much as I'd love to keep doing this, if y'all want to just go on Wikipedia and look it up, feel free, because I'm not going to read through it.
No. Let's keep asking you questions. No,
Oh, shit. Oh, man, good stuff. I don't know if there's anything else we want to... I mean, here's the thing. Like, we're going to do PS2 stuff in the future, but, like, we'll probably talk about specific games or franchises. But as far as PS2 as a whole, is there anything any glaring omissions things we left out on this episode? Or I feel pretty good. What are your thoughts, Lou? Anything?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much tackled everything. We did the Final Fantasy. We did the first-party games, Gran Turismo, God of War. We did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It was a very diverse catalog that Sony had. And again, we went through, or at least we tried to go through the first party with Sony, but
Yep.
just in that time period, just what we ended the conversation with Tony Hawk and Star Wars Battlefront, there was a lot of games in this era that weren't just PS2 exclusives, that other consoles, they were on other consoles, but they shined a little bit brighter on PS2 because it was such a popular system because of the DVD drive, which is silly now, but back in the day it was great.
Yeah. So, and I would agree, because that was the thing, because it was the best-selling game console of all time. It's by the way, does anyone care to venture a guess as to how many units have been sold for PS2 since it was released in 2000?
Oh, jeez.
I don't even know where to begin there.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and tell you.
Worldwide or just in the U.S.?
No, worldwide. I'll just tell you, because we don't have to play the guessing
110
game.
million?
155 million units.
Wow.
So
That wasn't
it is the
really
top-
that far off considering.
I mean, only 45 million, which is like the population
Yeah,
of
only
like
45.
a third of the United States. That's fine.
Yeah, it's close.
Well, how about this? So the next true traditional console, unit on there, as far as top selling, is the PlayStation 4 coming in at number 5 with 117 million units. So in between
I
there,
agree.
you got
I thought
Nintendo.
the PS3 was
the PS3 only
I thought
sold about
PS3 was
87.
a swing and miss.
Yeah,
I
so
thought
did
it was
most
a bit
people
of a
apparently.
miss.
Although, funnily enough, it ended up
Yep.
outselling the Xbox 360 for what it's worth.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, Xbox 360
Surprised
only
by
sold
that.
about 84 million units worldwide.
Bang.
So there it is. Derek, closing thoughts on the PS2? Anything we missed?
Man, I'm sure there is, but I can't think of anything at the moment.
I have one thing that we forgot to talk about that you may or may not have known. Okay, I was saving this. I'm ready for it now, though. Did you know that the more games you had on your memory card, the more squares would pop up when you booted up your PS2 title screen?
Oh, yes, I did know that, actually. Yeah.
Shut up.
Yep.
I had
You didn't
no
know that, Lou?
idea.
Yeah.
Nope.
So
Learned
like
something
the
new
little
today.
gray squares, like the 3D gray squares, like the more games you've played, the more squares show up on the screen at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
fun fact.
Now I'll take a look at it next time.
You have to, absolutely. So, all right, guys. So, listen, that's going to wrap it up for our PlayStation 2 episode and our kickoff to 2024. Guys, I think I told you this already, but Happy New Year. Like, we're recording this literally January 2nd. This is coming out January 3rd. And it's, it's just 1 year further away from our childhood, for better, for worse. So,
Thanks.
exactly. So, yeah, again, guys, thanks so much for coming on here. Now it's time to do a little plug-a-rooney for you. So, listeners out there, if you like the show, make sure you are recommending it to your friends. We had a huge spike over the holidays of downloads. So, if we could just keep that going, that'd be amazing. Just let them know about it. They can listen on Spotify, on iTunes, on Apple I said Apple, it used to be Google Podcasts, on YouTube. We're on Amazon. Everywhere you can get your podcasts, we are. So if you're listening to this, wherever you're listening to it, make sure you let your friends know to listen to it here as well. And hey, if you get a chance, guys, I know maybe you got some gift money over the holidays. If you're looking for a really nice way to support a really nice podcast, check out the merch store. There's a link in the description of this podcast. And grab yourself a t-shirt, grab yourself a notebook. Derek, we may or may not ever upload the video version of this episode, but Derek rocking.
Please don't.
With pride. You look great. What are you talking about? You look fantastic. His Generation S
behind me.
Oh, well, that's fair. It's whatever. It's fine. It looks like a dude's
We
office.
have faces for radio. That's why we're
There
doing
it is.
podcasting.
That's exactly right. But Derek rocking the Generation S t-shirt, always appreciated. Lou not rocking a Generation S t-shirt because he feels like he's better than that, so it's fine. It's all good. Actually, funnily enough, I do not own a Generation S t-shirt, so I should probably go buy one.
Wow.
I didn't think I was hoping somebody would buy one for me, but no one's bought one for me yet. So, it's all good.
Take the hint.
But either way, check out the merch page, guys. Would love it if you could just grab a shirt. And if you do, send a picture of it to us on Instagram or on Facebook, and we'll totally shout you out. That would be amazing, actually. Let's see. Other than that, make sure you're checking us out on YouTube at Generation S. We got a ton of content on there. We're obviously putting up our episodes of this podcast out there, usually a couple of weeks behind, but we're putting out fresh content every week around things like video games, wrestling, Power Rangers, you name it. We're talking about it. If it's pop culture related and happens to be related to something from our childhood, there it is. It's going to be over there. I think that's about it, guys. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're telling other people to subscribe to the show. And Happy New Year. With that, we will talk to you soon.
Goodbye.